We've got some more trade news and updates to take a look at here today involving the New York Rangers. And yeah, I know there's been a lot over the last little while, but it's only really going to continue up until the trade deadline. And even after that as well, going into the summer, there's going to be a lot more rumors and just kind of news that comes out involving the Rangers and, certain players they might be willing to trade away or trade for. And, some of it's going to be correct. Some of it won't be. Some of it's going to be a little ridiculous. But at the end of the day there, for the most part, it still is kind of fun to talk about these kind of trade rumors and pieces of news. So, of course, we're going to take a look at some of that in today's video. And today, we have two different kind of teams here linked with the Rangers in possible trades. One being the Vancouver Canucks, which we have obviously heard a lot about over the last few weeks. And we've also got a pretty new rumor here involving the Detroit Red Wings possibly being interested in a certain New York Rangers player as well. So, we're going to take a look at those two different things here in today's video. We'll start off with the Vancouver Canucks side of things here, and that is, of course, involving the JT Miller and Elias Pettersson situation. That has been going on now for quite a while. The original kind of reason on why, I guess, the rumors have kind of started is because apparently, JT Miller and Pettersson weren't getting along too well together in the locker room, I guess, and off the ice. So that's kind of why we've seen so many of these kind of trade rumors and updates and things and news and stuff like that kind of come up over the last, month, I guess it's been now, or at least a few weeks, talking about JT Miller and Pettersson kind of getting shopped around. And, as a Rangers fan, those are two players who I definitely think the Rangers, who are a team who need to go out there and trade for a star. They have to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's nothing else to it. You got to go out there and you have to make a big splash move. And, it's not that easy because of how I'm sure clearly desperate the Rangers are to other NHL general managers. They're going to see that and kind of obviously want to up the price a bit on their players or whoever the Rangers are possibly trading for because they see how desperate this Rangers organization is right now to go up there and kind of get something done. So obviously with that kind of in mind as well, it's not going to make things as easy to kind of get a trade done, but I do think that those two players, Pettersson and JT Miller, who would be, both pretty good fits on this team, especially if a guy like Zibanejad is going out the door. Now, we obviously did hear some reports that maybe he doesn't want to go there, so that might screw things up for a kind of Zibanejad trade to Vancouver, or we do see JT or Elias come this way. But the actual kind of piece of news here or report is from David Pagnotta of the fourth period there, a pretty reputable person in the hockey world, and he ended up basically saying that the Rangers have kind of called and inquired about the availability of both JT Miller and Elias Pettersson. And, that's not too much of a crazy update, but most of the news before was kind of just surrounding it. It seemed like more of just kind of JT Miller, whereas now maybe we're seeing a little more of the Rangers possibly looking at Pettersson as well. And, I don't really know which player exactly the Canucks truly value more because I think it really depends on kind of which way they're more leaning towards, whether it's the kind of long-term future or more of the kind of right now. Because if you're talking about, more kind of like 3-4 years plus down the road, you're probably going to lean more towards someone like Elias Pettersson. But if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you see yourself as, not too far away at all from really competing for a cup, and they had a good playoff run last season and stuff like that, and they have a nice team there. I think it's a decent team, not a great one. Obviously not playing the best hockey right now, but they've got a solid core there. I think they have a good coach. They've got a good goaltender there in Ned, Thatcher Demko. So I think they have some pieces there for sure. But, obviously it kind of depends. Do you want to really focus on kind of more of the future or more of the right now? And if you're looking at the right now and you want to win in the next 3 years, then I really think you got to keep JT Miller and you're looking to trade away someone like Elias Pettersson, who is, he's making about like 3.5, a little over that, I think more, about 3.6 million more, I believe, per season. I think he's making 11.6 mil per season. And then you have JT Miller at 8. So that's $3.6 million more per season. That is a lot. That is almost like, like half of JT Miller's contract extra they're adding on top of that, right? So you take almost half of JT Miller's contract, you add it on top of what he's making, and then you pretty much almost have what Elias Pettersson's making. So I think with the cap situation there, and obviously if they factor in more of kind of winning now, then I do think you absolutely are trading away Elias Pettersson for sure. But if they really are more focused on just kind of, competing, but obviously kind of a little more towards the future, want to be a little safer long-term wise, you're probably going to keep a guy like Elias Pettersson. And just to kind of recap this talk about the Rangers and Canucks here before we move on to the Rangers and Red Wings, overall here with the Canucks right now, I think both players would be a nice addition for the Rangers, JT or Elias. If I had to pick, I'm taking JT because of the contract and because I do think this Rangers team is, not terribly far off of truly competing. I think, yes, we absolutely need some big, big moves, but JT would be one of those big moves that could obviously really kind of push us along. And when you have a goaltender like Igor, and when he's playing good, he can obviously do quite some just wonderful things for this team and really carry this team along. He kind of fixed that decor a bit, and I think things are looking a lot better. You add in JT, you fix the decor, and automatically I think this team is looking quite a bit better. So in my opinion, it's not that easy. I get that. It is not that easy by any means just to fix the decor, trade for JT, and everything's good. But I do think basically that, this team is not terribly far off of truly getting back into the kind of rhythm of things there and truly competing for a possible Stanley Cup. And next up here, we'll talk about the New York Rangers and the Detroit Red Wings possible trade that could go down at some point in the near future. But before we do that, I did just want to say quickly, I just want to thank all you for all the support that you all do show on these videos, liking, commenting, subscribing. It truly does mean a lot. But anyways, carrying on though and taking a look, kind of talking about this Red Wings/Rangers kind of little trade news here. And it's not necessarily kind of concrete news that, the Rangers made a phone call or, the Red Wings, Irishman, they made a phone call necessarily. But this is Frank Cervalli, a very reputable person in the hockey world. He is one of the top guys over there at Daily Faceoff. He basically came out and said that he believes that Ryan Lindgren could be a possible kind of target for the Detroit Red Wings. And I think that makes sense. They're a team who, are definitely looking like a better team right now, unfortunately, than the Rangers. And with how close they are right now in the actual kind of wild card standings in the Eastern Conference, I'm not necessarily certain that a trade would happen between the Rangers and Wings unless the Rangers do, really kind of drop back of that wild card race and really have a very small chance of actually kind of making the wild card there. Then at the ninth, that makes sense to possibly actually kind of make that trade. Although, someone like Ryan Lindgren has definitely not necessarily played the greatest for the Rangers so far this season. So maybe you're just kind of fine with it either way of trading him away to a direct kind of competitor. But I do think that he would be a nice pickup for most kind of playoff caliber teams out there. Maybe the true kind of elite ones, maybe are not really looking at someone like Ryan Lindgren, even in a kind of, bottom pairing role. But I do think for a team like the Red Wings, Lindgren can be a fine kind of guy to add in there, provide some extra kind of depth, be a solid kind of bottom pairing guy, play up and down the pairings a bit if he has to, if injuries come around. And, he has the experience of playing with a guy like Foxy there. So he's played with this kind of star guy before, obviously. He's been up and down the lineup in the past. So he's got that experience. He's gone into playoff runs with this team. He's obviously a heart and soul kind of guy, a really good teammate, it seems like, really good guy on and off the ice. I do think that it does seem like, yes, maybe he's not a true kind of top four caliber defenseman, but I think in a bottom pairing role, in a new situation, he definitely could be a really nice kind of addition to a team looking to either make the playoffs or possibly go on a bit of a run. I don't think he's going to be a kind of really game-breaking piece for anyone, but he can be a kind of nice addition to a squad there who already does have a pretty good team, kind of already built right now. So I think he'd be a nice kind of addition there, and he's not going to cost a lot. I think you're looking at maybe like a fourth round pick at the very most. And that's even with it kind of being maybe a little pushed up because the deadline there, I'm not sure you're really getting much more than a fourth, even with the prices kind of going up at the deadline like they normally do. So we'll have to wait and see, but I do think that it's going to be interesting to kind of see what happens with this team and kind of what Chris Drury decides to do. Does he want to make a bunch of selling moves there, ship out Lindgren, Riley Smith, Jimmy Vesey, there are other guys as well, Will Borgen, some other guys like that, do we see a bunch of those kind of trades there? We're shipping out rentals and kind of older guys who, aren't necessarily around probably for the long-term future. I'm kind of on board with that. I want to see some of these rental kind of guys traded away, and Ryan Lindgren is definitely one of them. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely hit that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on this video as well, and these kind of three possible trades that could go down with the New York Rangers and the Vancouver Canucks, as well as the Detroit Red Wings. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. Bye.